Okay, so this here is Clank. It is a deck building game. So like other deck building games, the kind of the basic premise here is everybody starts out with their own deck of cards, right? Made up of basically the same cards, right? So everybody has the same kind of deck, and I think all the yeah, here we go. These are all the types right here, and I'll explain what these do in a second. And then you can see everybody has a figure as well, and I'll just put my figure here for explanation purposes. With this particular module, which I will link to in the chat, it is scripted, so it sets everything up for you, which is awesome, and will help me with my rules explanation. So, again, so with deck builder games, everybody has their own deck of cards. And at the start of each person's turn, they will basically draw those 5 cards, and they will play all of them. Some of the cards have these symbols here, indicating that they can use this for purchasing powers. These are skill points, and then these are for movement. Don't worry about that just yet. But you're basically going to be using those to buy cards in this row here in order to progress in the game, with the ultimate goal of getting through and sneaking through this dungeon you see here, getting through the castle, going into these lower levels, and taking one of these unique artifacts, and then carrying it back out before and really upset Dragon, which I should actually put on the board. Let's say I put on 4 here. It decides to attack you and drain you of your health. So that is kind of the main goal. So kind of going back to those cards there, or going back to the deck building concept, I should say. So you'll purchase these cards, and so you'll play cards from your hand. I'll just demonstrate that real quick. Let me put these cards all back together. There we go. Okay. So you'll have this deck of cards, and at the start of your turn, you're going to draw 5 cards. Okay, and you will play them from your hand. So I'm putting them here, but you can pretend that I have some of these in my hand. The order does matter in which you play things, but you'll basically play all of your cards. So you'll look and you'll see what you can do, because you're going to have to be using all of these in some capacity. So you have these 4 skill points we can use to buy cards from that row, those 2 rows I just talked about, and we have a movement point. So this is kind of a unique deck builder in that you can actually use the movement points here, and that's how you will move through each room. So movement works in this like so. So wherever you see just a single line connected, you can use 1 movement point to move that way. Wherever you see 2 feet, you have to spend 2 movement points to move into that room. Whenever you move into a crystal cavern, that ends your movement, and you can't go any further unless you're aided by some super special ability. And then if you try to move across to these through these enemy things, you have to block it with attack power, which you do not have in your deck initially. So this requires 1 attack power, and this requires 2 attack power, and so forth. And if there's a locked symbol, that means you have to get a key artifact, which is actually something else you can buy in the game with gold, which is separate from those skill points. But I'll talk about kind of how you get that in a little bit. Also, if you end your space for movement on a token, you will collect wherever that token is, and so there are minor tokens, which give you a benefit. If it's a potion, you can keep it on you, but some of these are immediate. Like this, you would get 5 gold, so that's one way you can get gold. The major tokens give you a lot more than the minor ones. If there are 2 tokens in the room, you only take 1, so somebody else can probably go in and grab something as too. And that's how movement works. So back to the buying. So you have this row here. When you look at this row, there are a couple of things to note. So you have the card name, you have what the card does, and then you also have the cost to either buy said thing, right? In this case, it's 1 skill point to buy this, or the cost to attack it with attack power. Do we have a card here that has attack? There we go. Attack power. And then you have this bottom row here, which they are all the same card, right? For 50 copies of each, 12 copies of this, and then these 2 are just printed on. You don't have to worry about the goldfish. I think that's from an expansion. But yeah, you can buy these cards, defeat these cards. When you buy a card, you basically would spend a skill point. It'll go right all the way over here, and it'll go into your discard pile, right? So you don't get it immediately. What'll happen is, once you play your 5 cards, and you play another 5 cards, and your deck is empty, you will shuffle your discard pile and you will draw as many cards as you need. And that's how those cards end up back in your deck, and that is something that is in every deck builder almost, in some capacity. But yeah, you'll buy cards on your turn, and you can do these in any order. This is not refilled until the end of your turn. But yeah, so you can buy things with attack power. Some things give you like special abilities like draw a card. If it says acquire on it, that means that you would get whatever that thing is. So I didn't mention this, but the game itself is called Clank because there are Clank points. So the more stuff you carry, the more noise you make, the more of these points you'll produce. And these will basically are points to incite the dragon to attack. So we have this banner here. And I think one of my cards in my deck, see if I can find, there's one. If I were to draw this and get this Clank point, you would take one of your Clank points, which you can actually just click a button here, and it'll go on this banner. And this will be important because these basically determine who the dragon targets on a attack. But I'll talk more about that in a little bit. But keep that in mind. So you can, some things when you first get them, they give you some nasty thing. In this case, you would get 2 Clank added to that banner. The other thing, or this one, you get a healing, and I'll talk about your health in a little bit. That's one of the ways you can lose the game, is by losing your health. And then the symbol here is for the dragon attack. So basically, at the end of your turn, if this is empty, you would draw a card here. If it did have this symbol, then a dragon attacks, and it will do something along these lines, where that anybody who has Clank on here, it'll go into this dragon bag. Okay. And then, so you'll drop it in there, and then you can do this with the module, which is great. You will choose who the dragon attacks, and it'll be according to where the dragon is on this track. So every time somebody steals an artifact, this will go up, right? So the deeper you go in, it's going to take longer for you to go in, and people might steal artifacts before that, so this might be very high. But this tells you how many cubes you're going to pull out of that bag. So this bag will basically be shuffled, like so, and it told us that we needed the dragon attacks too. So it'll draw 2 cubes from the bag in a second. Boom. So there are a bunch of these black cubes, and at the start, no player's cubes are in here. But if a player cube is drawn from this bag, so this is who the dragon attacks, it will take a cube. I'm going to go ahead and produce one more Clank to show you. And it'll go here on your health meter. If your health meter hits 0, then you are dead. If you die in the depths of you are dead, and you even if you have an artifact. If you have an artifact and you're in the upper level, the villagers basically come and get you out of the temple, out of the not a temple, but the castle, and take you back, and you get to score everything that you have on you. If you do make it out alive, after all is said and done, you'll get actually a bonus 20 points. So if you die, you will lose 20 points. And so the dragon is one of the ways that you can die in the game. Okay, so that's the kind of the basic premise for that. What else did I want to mention here? Yeah, you can only carry 1 artifact. So these are artifacts here. So they have a certain point value, and some are worth a lot more, but they are very deep in the cavern itself. What else did I want to say? Oh yeah, if you ever discard a monster, so if you attack a monster, you kill it, and actually just goes in a discard pile. There's one more type of card, which is an equipment card, which I can just look through here. There are these purple cards, which are basically one-time effects. They're also discarded, in addition to everything else. Yeah, so this one you get one-time use to do this. Yeah, one-time use to do the effect on here and get this stuff, and then it goes away. And this still has the same kind of cost and everything. And there are cards in here. There are monsters that make it harder, make the dragon attacks more powerful, or do something else nasty. So just keep that in mind. They're pretty easy to pick up what exactly each card does. Okay, so again, your goal is to move through the temple, collect as many artifacts as possible, collect gold. Gold has the added bonus of if you go into this temple here. If you go into, I keep saying temple, but if you go into this market, that's way, I don't know why there's a market way down here. In addition to getting this token, you can actually choose to spend 7 gold on any one of these spots to get one of these items here, right? So there is a limited number of these. The keys allow you to pass through those locked areas, like right there. So you can actually move through those now, and they actually give you 5 points at the end. Whenever you see like this symbol on any card, it'll give you points. The sack allows you to carry an additional artifact, and you can carry, there are 2 sacks here, so you can actually carry up to 3 artifacts. This is from the expansion, so we're not going to worry about that. The crown gives you 10 points if you get it, or 9 points, or 8, and you have to collect the highest point value on top. But yeah, that's how the market works. So it gives you some bonuses here. And you notice there are other things that are not artifacts that give you points, like the monkey area. What else do we have on the board? I think that's pretty much it. Oh, so every time the dragon attacks, this thing will go up, right, on the board. Right, so the dragon will become more and more powerful and become more and more risky to go deeper in, right, because you're going to get more cubes drawn as you make more Clank. The other thing that'll happen is that if somebody makes it out first, so let's say they get their artifact and they're 1 artifact because you can only carry 1, and they make it out, which means they have to go all the way back up and through to where they came. The first person to make it out will put their counter on this track here. And then every time it comes to the turn, they'll move up. The dragon will attack plus an additional cube. And then dragon will attack plus 2 cubes, right? And then plus 3 cubes, and in addition to their normal attack. And then when they make it to here, the game will end, and anybody still in any of these parts here will be knocked out in some capacity. All right. Again, according to the artifact rules, right? So if you're an artifact, you won't get the bonus 20 points if you die if you're an upper level with an artifact, right? Only if you're below the depths with an artifact or not. Yeah, so this basically is a nice little timer on the game as well. But yeah, so that is Clank. I don't think I missed anything. Yeah, it's a cool game. And just so you know, so we're going to go right into the gameplay. I think it'll cover a little bit. You get a little bit of a double explanation there with some aspects, but I think that should be good to go.